Courtney.
Yes.
So good to have you here.
Yes.
How are you?
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. How's AFP been so far?
Great. My first time, actually.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I spoke this morning about value proposition. Had a great crowd.
Awesome.
So, yeah, glad to be here.
The only thing AFP is missing is the themed events.
You are so right. Like, where's the Wizard of Oz?
I don't know.
Where's
the
Willy Wonka?
Exactly.
I know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not to plug our summit or anything, but September,
you
Kansas
all
City.
should go. Yeah, there you go. I was actually talking last night. I forget the nonprofit, but
Sure.
I was telling them about NIO.
Yeah.
And we were debating, is it NIO or is it?
Well, that's the debate.
Yeah.
No, I call it NEO.
NIO. Okay.
I was employee 4, so I mean, there's some weight behind that.
Yeah.
You know?
So NIO it is. We're going with NIO. Yeah. And I was telling them, I was like, because they're like, you were talking about like best nonprofit conferences.
Sure.
I was like, I said NIO, but now it's going to be NIO.
Yep.
And they're like, why? I was like, well, the themes are always just over the top,
off the charts.
Yeah. So we're looking at like
who has a chocolate fountain going through the floor of their speaking gig.
Yeah. Anyway, so tell us a little bit. I mean, we've talked with a few people Next After.
Yeah.
But for those just tuning in, tell us a little bit about Next After and what
Sure.
you guys specialize in.
Yeah, we're really 3 things. We're a research lab, a training institute, and then a digital-first agency.
Okay.
So we work with the top about 5 to 10% of nonprofits, and really with the goal of building and growing their digital fundraising programs.
So one would maybe think the top 5-10% nonprofits have it all together. My guess is they're dinosaurs, and there's a lot of overhaul that needs to happen. What's the experience?
Yeah, right. Whether you're a mom and pop shop or of the top 5 to 10%, I think everyone deals with the same challenges, whether that's technology or honestly very foundational, just like understanding donors. As good as we all think we might be or understand our donors as well as we do, we don't.
Yeah.
And we know that, and we see that through the testing that we do. So.
And I imagine, with the size of nonprofits you work with, they're at a certain scale, and so you see a lot of interesting insights or learnings.
Yeah.
From the perspective of fundraising, what do you see works at scale that maybe doesn't work for like a smaller organization?
Sure. I think actually what's surprising about that, Justin, is that whether it's small or large, a lot of it is repeatable.
Okay.
And I think that's what technology is so great about, is that some of the things that we do on the smaller scale, one-to-one communication, we can do at the large scale. One of the biggest things over the last year, and even like what COVID I think taught us or demonstrated to us, is that people do want to be cared for. They want to be talked to. They, want to feel valued. And so we heightened our communications and cultivation through that season. And we're not stopping just because COVID is, quote, over. Is it over? Whatever it is.
I'm calling it post-COVID.
Post-COVID, yeah.
It just feels reassuring.
Right. So we can actually automate all of that for these larger scale organizations. So, actually, I think that there's a lot that we can learn from smaller shops that are doing very like intimate, grassroots, human contact kind of stuff, and actually help our larger organizations do some of those things, because what we're seeing is the more human we can be, more personal we can be, the greater success these larger organizations have.
Yeah.
We don't have to lean on that big brand that they are, that people know them as. They do well, of course, on the paid media side because they have a big name.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, donors are donors. Donors are people. And whether I'm giving to a massive organization, and a lot of the organizations we work with, or some smaller one, they're still giving to a cause that they believe in, regardless of size.
Yeah, that makes sense. On the brand name brand recognition, that tongue twister there. I was talking with about a year ago World Vision.
Sure.
And which they're in the top percentile.
For sure.
But it was interesting because they said that they had a name brand recognition problem in the United States. And
shocking.
Yeah, so it got me thinking, is that it, like when you think of like Nike, right?
Sure.
Like everyone knows Nike. And when you are talking about like nonprofits in particular, like in the nonprofit world, it's a big brand.
Sure.
But like I guess here's the question. Sorry, it's long about ways. Does that not translate to like individual donors or like the general population, because less people give than buy Nikes? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So like, is name brand recognition harder for nonprofits because the audience is smaller?
Oh, that's a tough question, Justin.
Yeah.
I
mean, just a light little, thing to think about.
I don't look at them in the same breath. Like,
Yeah.
If I'm going to purchase a new pair of Nike Kicks and give to a nonprofit, whether it has great name recognition or not, my motivation is radically different. And maybe I'm not answering your question right. So I think that there's things that we can do about name recognition, and there's things that we do about name recognition. And we can do that easily digitally. But I don't think it's an issue really at all.
Yeah.
And I think that those larger organizations, they do lean on that brand recognition. They do see easier, greater, better results than the smaller ones.
Is that trust just because it's like, I know my money is going to be used, I'm guaranteeing my money is going to be used better than if I give to a small organization? Or is it that? Or
No, I don't think necessarily. I think for donors, it's like, how well are you communicating your value proposition? Like, at the end of the day, whether you're the largest nonprofit or the small nonprofit, actually what we see with large nonprofits is they do tend to lean on that brand recognition and get a little bit lazier with value proposition and communicating really like what it is that they do, or like what a donor can actually accomplish through their organization. Because like, well, we're so-and-so, like, of course you want to give to us.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't matter if you have a well-known name or not. You still have to communicate what you're doing, because at the end of the day, like, there's also a retention thing, right? So if I give to you because I think you're cool this week, and actually that's a thing that's happening with the younger demographic, is younger demographics are giving to organizations one that they like this week. In a month, they're like, oh, I like this one, so they give to another one. Like whatever is kind of out in the marketplace. Then that all you're leaning on at that point is brand recognition, instead of like, oh, by the way, you're doing this incredible mission, and reminding them of that mission over and over and over again. So to me, it's like value proposition conquers everything, whether you have a big brand or small brand, and that is an area that, regardless of size, that we have to do better at.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I wanted to ask you about is donor experience. I was talking earlier with Francesco from UNICEF, and his sole job was donor experience, and to come up with like a methodology to score sort of like how satisfied, kind of like an NPS, but a little bit more in depth and so forth. And their sort of like thesis, which I totally agree with, is that like if we can retain X percentage more donors, we'll grow faster. Because acquiring donors is more expensive and it's harder.
Absolutely.
So the question is, working with the top 5 to 10% of nonprofits, how much do they prioritize donor experience, and to the point of like even budgeting for donor experience, right? And not just like how good does your website look and how easy is it to donate, more kind of like the stewardship side of like, what is the experience post donation?
Yeah, sadly, maybe. Do I start with that?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Sadly, it's terrible.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I would love we would love to think that they're doing an incredible job at that. But again, I think that so much is focused on acquisition.
Yeah.
That donor experience does kind of become at least a secondary or even like the third priority.
Yeah.
Acquisition is always at the forefront of everything. So to hear that, like, that is his job. Your job is donor experience. I want that job, first of all. That's my favorite part is loving on donors. That's a whole nother story. So most organizations do not have necessarily a separate team devoted to a donor experience. I'd be curious what he's doing.
Yeah.
And maybe other teams are like, well, our marketing team does that, or our XYZ team does that. They just don't have a cool title like our friend from UNICEF. But it is an area that I think that it's like, well, we do it. We think we do it well, but it's I don't
put them on our newsletter. We give them an email every once in a while. Oh yeah, we got great experience.
Right, exactly. So are they doing it well? I think there's a lot of opportunity for improvement there, for honestly all nonprofits, which is crazy to think that, because we're working with these larger ones.
Yeah,
so.
And it's the reason why I'm like really interested in this topic, because retention has just been horrendous.
Yes.
For decades. And it doesn't seem like nonprofits are really trying to address it.
Sure. And coming out of COVID.
Right. Yeah. And or like even like, or they're like they're like, oh, like we got to get tech to like do this for us. Like to me, this isn't a tech solution.
No, not at all.
It's really a strategic like
It's
initiative.
intention.
It's culture at the organization. Yeah, and intention. And it's like to me, it's also a math problem.
Yeah.
It's so easy to math out.
Yeah.
If we were to increase retention by X%,
Yes.
we could bring down costs on acquisition,
Yes.
and we could actually grow at this rate.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why like this hasn't been addressed.
It is
and,
wild.
And is it like, and so it gets me thinking, how much of it is on the organization versus the donor's attention span, and they find a new cause.
Sure.
I don't know if there's, I don't have any data around sort of like the average kind of like lifespan a
Sure.
donor gives to an organization. So I'm kind of curious about that. But
yeah, I mean, it's our job. It's our job. And I say our job is fundraisers. So it's whether that's an agency that's helping you, it's the organization itself. It is our job to retain the donors.
Yeah.
Yes, they're going to get distracted and they're going to be, whatever the next best nonprofit is that maybe they're going to give to for younger demographics. But at the end of the day, we have to understand how to retain them and what brought them in originally. And I just don't think that a lot of the times we do a lot of that work.
Yeah.
I think we, again, become lazy of like, well, we acquired them. They're just not staying on our file because they're not staying on our file. They're bored with us or, whatever it is. They went on and moved on. Well, the reality is like, have we done our work to actually say, well, what is it that motivated them to give in the first place? What have they been receiving? Is it the right kind of communication? Is it the right frequency of communication? Are we giving them that high touch experience? I just actually gave a talk on mid-level giving. And someone's like, well, could I just do this like high touch to our broad-based general file? I'm like, 100% we should be.
Yeah.
Because that is the problem, Justin, is like, we said we have this like mid-level donor crisis because they're not getting high touch and not getting regular, communications like the general file. But really at the end of the day, if retention is an issue, and we know that major donors are sticking around because we're giving them a white glove treatment and mid-levels are starting to come around to that, then why are we not treating the rest of our file in that way?
Yeah.
And we can. But again, it comes back to the organization. It is our responsibility to do that.
Another thing that on this point, not to bring up UNICEF again, but I was fascinated by this because they're trying to solve this retention problem internally as well. And they started doing testing different like strategies. And so they broke a group of donors into two different cohorts, same size gifts, within the same year of giving, right? So they had two different cohorts. And one group, they called on their birthday to say happy birthday, like you mean a lot to us. And the other group, they didn't. The group that they made those phone calls to had increased their gift by 5x and stayed around almost 3 times longer.
Amazing.
And it's just
simple
a simple,
thing.
that small little thing like that.
A birthday
right?
phone call.
Yeah.
We've done testing with that in email. We added one additional email on a weekend. All it was cultivation, value add to half of our file for 6 months. We looked at the retention and giving after. Again, no additional asks. They were getting everything else that everyone else was getting. It was one additional cultivation email just to like check in on them, give them an article, really just to love on them. And it increased overall revenue by 26%.
Wow.
One additional cultivation.
One that's amazing. It's
from,
amazing. Like,
from some random person at the organization who had never sent an email before.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's like top of mind. Yeah, we did when I was at Liberty North Korea. We did. We called it like your birthday. Your something. It was on the anniversary of your first gift to the organization.
Oh yeah.
And so 12 months after your first gift, you get an email to say, hey, happy giving birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for. And we didn't do an ask, but the conversion rate and people actually come back and just giving after
That's
that
remarkable.
was remarkable. And so sometimes it's like the smallest, dumbest things.
No, and again,
that actually work.
It doesn't take a lot, and that's why my word was like it takes intention.
Yeah,
that is it.
That's it.
That is it.
Yeah.
It's not some like big additional team, big additional budget, big additional technology. It is really just like, how about we start caring?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, one last question and then rapid fire.
All right.
Any campaigns coming up that you're really excited about that you think is new, different, anything that you're excited or project?
Yeah. We're doing a mobile giving study right now.
Okay.
That's going to come out in the fall, right before our summit.
Nice.
So I'm really excited about that because We do a ton of testing. We have we just hit today 3,500 experiments in our library, which is a huge accomplishment. They ring the bell, have a cake come in, all the things while I'm here. So 3,500 experiments, and of those experiments, most of them are not focused on mobile giving. And while we did test, whatever the thing is, the element we tested was on both desktop and mobile devices, the test and the hypothesis itself was not focused on the mobile device. And we know, obviously, the mobile experience is so radically different.
Yeah.
And so we did a research study. We just conducted it, just finished giving to over 200 and some organizations through our mobile phones, and looked at the experience of the giving form, what communications looked like after. And now we're pulling together the research for that to kind of see, well, what is the state of nonprofit giving on mobile devices? And that also then allows us to understand and look for opportunities of where and what we should be testing to get an even greater response on mobile devices, because we know that mobile giving is about half of what it is on desktop, even though traffic is, almost double what it is on mobile devices.
Yeah.
So
interesting. I'm excited to read that report.
Too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Right. Let's do some rapid fire
Okay.
here. There's no right or wrong answers, so
okay.
don't stress it.
All right.
Okay. First question: are you more into movies or series?
I know this is rapid fire. I understand that it takes one answer.
It's all right. You can have multiple if you need it.
Series if I'm at home, movies in the theater for the popcorn.
Okay. What series? What's your active series right now?
I do really dark drama TV series, so I'm finishing Ozarks right now.
Okay. If you want to stay on the dark theme,
yes,
go to Severance next.
Done.
Yeah, it's so good. Tacos or cheeseburgers?
Oh, tacos.
Tacos. You're in Texas, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But not originally, but yeah.
All right. Okay. Beach or the mountains?
Beach, hands down.
Oh yeah, easy.
My home, yeah.
Digital reading or where's your home?
No, not really.
Oh, your home.
Not
I
really.
see.
It's like in my heart.
In your heart.
Justin.
Yeah. I got it. I got you.
Okay.
Digital reading or an actual book?
Audio.
Okay. There you go.
Right.
Ice cream or froyo?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. I think everyone has said ice cream. I think froyo is on its way
gone.
out.
It's like cupcakes.
Yeah.
Old news.
Yeah, absolutely. Football or football?
Football.
Okay. Last one here. Moana or Aladdin?
Oh, I know, rapid fire. Pain. The Disney heart in me is painful right now. Aladdin. Come on.
Okay.
90s.
Yeah.
The best Disney
So
movies.
you're talking about the cartoon, not the real life Aladdin.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The original.
Yeah. The original. Yeah. Awesome.
I would do Moana for the beach side of things, but and I lived in Hawaii for a while too.
Oh, nice.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining the podcast. Have a good
Appreciate
rest
you.
of the conference.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin.
Bye.
Bye.